Hey, it's James here from GoodGuitarist.com, and today I'm going to teach you a Canadian classic, Man, I Feel Like a Woman by Shania Twain. This one, as far as the strumming is concerned, has a few more challenging elements. There's also a really cool riff, so it's definitely a late beginner, almost intermediate tune. Let's just take a quick look at what we'll be learning today. Now, as far as the chords are concerned, we can pull this off exclusively with basic chords. But there is one thing that I'd like you to do that's going to make it so much easier, and that is to play G like this. You don't have to do this, but if you're into country, this is going to be a huge staple in your repertoire. We're just putting our ring finger on the 3rd fret of the thickest string, and then our pinky finger on the 3rd fret of the thinnest string, and playing our G chord like that. The A string is being muted by the underside of our ring finger. And the reason why we do this is because it switches into C so well. And also we're going to be using an easy version of F instead of the bar chord. And if G and C, and those kinds of chords are still tricky for you, I do have a free ebook that you should definitely check out that's going to help you with all the fundamentals. I'll just put a link down below for that. It's completely free. Otherwise, we'll go over the chord shapes as we need them for the tune. We're going to start with the verse. I'm just going to write the chord progression up here. As you can see, it's just C and G. It's really straightforward. I'm going to write the counting underneath. And if you're still working on these shapes, it's a great idea to go through it downstrokes only and count along, going like 1, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, just going through it that way. I find that this is also a good time to start singing. 1, 2, 3. Going out tonight, I'm feeling alright. It's a simple exercise and it's overlooked by a lot of people, and they wonder, how can I start strumming and singing at the same time? Well, that's one of the first steps you could take. Either way, we got to add a strumming pattern to this to make it come to life, right? And the pattern for this song goes like this. And that's what we would call a syncopated strumming pattern. That means it feels really offbeat. And before we count it out, it's important to work on the motions and build the muscle memory. I'm playing a G chord here, and we're gonna go down, up, mute. And when I mute, I'm not smacking it. Actually, you totally can. That sounds pretty cool too. But we're just kind of karate chopping the strings to stop them. And when I do that, my pick is going under them, preparing for the upstroke, right? Down, up, mute, up. And you'll want to work on that a whole bunch at your own pace, then add the counting, going 1 and 2 and. So downstrokes on the numbers, upstrokes on the ands. 1 and mute and. And then the second half, we're missing the strings on beat 3 and playing up, down, up. So miss, up, down, up. And it's important that we say miss because beat 3 is missing, and that's a main beat. Our body wants to feel it, so we have to acknowledge it in some way. And I just say miss. You can tap your foot, do something to really feel beat 3, and that way the up, down, up will line up in the correct place. And once you've worked on each half of it, taking the time to loop it a whole bunch, going down, up, mute, up, 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And that's how I would practice the first half, counting 3 and 4 and after it. Then for the second half, going 1 and 2 and miss, up, down, up, 1 and 2 and miss, up, down, up. Doing things like that and really breaking it down may seem like, it's taking too much time. But the truth is, that's how you get your rhythm super solid, is by working out all of these mechanics individually, rather than just kind of trying it, hoping it works out as you try the entire song. Anyways, once you've worked on each half, we can put it all together. Down, up, mute, up, miss, up, down, up, mute, up, miss, up, down. And memorizing how to say it like I'm doing is probably going to do the most work in terms of you actually getting this thing. And, we work on that a whole bunch till we're good at it. Then we can add a swing feel to it. There's yet another element, right? Like I said, the rhythm is definitely the more challenging part of this tune. Going, adding that bluesy feeling instead of the straight feel, having longer downstrokes. Down, up, down, up. And once you can play it a few times, you're set. All we got to do is add it to our chord shapes. We would play it 3 times on G, once for each chord symbol. And then for C and G, we're going to split the strumming pattern between the 2 chords like this. So it's the exact same strumming pattern. We're playing C on the down up at the beginning, and then when we mute the strings, that's when I'm switching to G, and then I complete the strumming pattern with the G chord. So this adds yet another element of coordination to it, and that's why I took so much care to really break it down and make sure that you know exactly how to practice it, just like we did in the lesson. Anyways, now that we have the components of our verse, let's put the strumming together and see what happens. I'm at 90 beats per minute. It's not too fast, but we're late beginner / intermediate people now, so it's not too slow either. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is how the verse goes. Now, before we learn the rest of the chords, let's take a break from the chords and strumming thing and take a look at the intro riff. It goes like this. So the first thing you might notice is how a lot of it falls on the offbeats, on the ands, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, only 2 of those notes fall on the beat. I want you to just take your time with it. You don't have to learn it right now, but just take your time and go through the notes. We're starting on the G string, open string, 2 times with upstrokes, and then we go. So 1 more time on the open G string, it's the 3rd time technically, and then a downstroke on the 2nd fret of D. So I want you to practice that on its own. And then we're going to play the open D string, and then the open G string twice with upstrokes. So I would do it in 3 parts. First, the 2 upstrokes on open G, then so open G with an upstroke and a downstroke on the 2nd fret of D, and then I would go open D and then 2 upstrokes on G. And once you get the notes and the rhythm, you can add some muting to it. Every time you play a note, you mute it. I do it by lightly touching it with my fretting hand. So I pluck the string and then I stop it with my fretting hand to make it nice and, staccato is the real word for it, but nice and like punchy, right? And basically all the notes on the open G string are staccato and the other 2 get to ring out. There's just 2 other notes, right? All in all, I'm going to count it super slowly and play it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, and 4, and notice I kept counting after I finished playing. That's part of the riff too, that amount of space. You know, you got to leave the right amount of space after it so you don't just jump into the chords too soon, right? And then if you're playing with other musicians, you start playing the verse and they're not ready yet, right? So be sure to count it out. Now, back to chord land. Let's knock out the rest of the tune here. After the verse chords, we have a pre-chorus, and for that, we're going to need an F chord. And if you're well-versed in bar chords, you're welcome to play the big old F chord, or you can play an easier version where we put our index finger on the first fret of the B string, middle finger on the second fret of G, our pinky on the third fret of D, and then our ring finger just above that on the third fret of the A string. I'm muting the outside strings with my thumb and with the underside of my index. Optional, but it makes a huge difference. And we have 2 measures of F, 2 measures of G. So we just use our strumming pattern 2 times on each chord. Being a woman, it's the prerogative to have a little fun. And from there we go into the chorus. Now the chorus has a couple new chord shapes. One of them is the B minor chord, which can be a bar chord, or you can play it in a simpler way like this, where my index is playing the second fret of the A string, I skip the D string, my middle finger is playing the second fret of G, and my ring finger is playing the third fret of the B string. And we're coming from a D chord, so we can leave our ring finger down and pivot into that one, and it's not too bad. There's also an E minor 7 chord, and that comes after G. We're gonna leave our ring finger down and then just play E minor like usual, but we're leaving our ring finger down. That gives it that 7. So I'm just gonna write out all the chord shapes here, and then we can play them in order, playing our strumming pattern 1 time on each one. There's nothing special here, except at the very end where we count out 6 beats of space. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you see I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. That adds up to 6. So, you know, we added 6 beats of space at the end there. And you'll also notice that I played the bar chord version of B minor and the easier version, and they both sounded totally fine. Now, the next part is the main riff again, but we're going to add a little bit to it. Instead of just playing the riff, we're going to add some upstrokes to it. And here it's going to get a little trickier. I'll show you what we're going to do. So I played my main riff, but I cut off the last note. I switched to a G chord, and then I played upstrokes on the and after 1, 2, and 3. So 1, and 2, and 3, and. I'll count that all out. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. You can see it all written above. You know, we're just adding some upstrokes after it. And then we do the same thing, but with a C chord. And you can just see it there, practice it at your own pace. G, then C. And that is our transition into the next verse, pre-chorus and chorus, which is all the same. Now at this point, we've covered everything you need to play the song, but there are a few little bits and pieces here that I'd like to go over just so you can really nail it and play along with the original recording. First of all, you'll have to put a capo at the 3rd fret to be in the same tuning as the original recording. But you don't have to do that. You're welcome to just play it by yourself in the regular guitar position. Next up, at the end of the 2nd chorus, it's a little bit different. We get up to the like, feel the way I feel, with that E minor 7 chord. But we have a little bit more space than before. And we're strumming E minor 7 a little bit differently. I'll just demonstrate it. 3, 4. Way I feel. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we strum G as usual, but for E minor 7, we just strum it on beat 1 and count 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we stop the chord from ringing and we count out 2 measures of silence. Well, it's not silent because somebody's singing, but 2 measures of us not playing our instrument. And that leads into the solo section, which is F, C, G, G. Pretty straightforward. Do that 2 times. Then we have our pre-chorus again, but this pre-chorus has a little rhythmic thing. When we play G the second time, previously we would just play 2 measures of F, 2 measures of G. But this time, that final measure of G is a little bit different. We're just going to strum the first half of our pattern, and then we're going to count out 4 beats of silence. So 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2. And then we begin our chorus. So I'll just play that whole thing for you just so you can hear it in context. Best thing about being a woman is the variety and having fun. 3, 4. Oh. You can see it all up there. Go through it at your own pace. And aside from that, the rest of the chorus is just business as usual. I like to end it on the E minor 7, just 1 downstroke, letting it ring out as you go like, I feel like a woman. You know, I feel like that's just a really good place to end it when you're not playing with a whole band. Either way, that's it for this one. Now, if you enjoy learning guitar with me, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, do all that stuff. If you want a full play along where you can play the entire song start to finish with me, that's available for members of my All Access Pass. I'll put a link down below if you're interested in joining that. On top of the play alongs, you know, it's just a small part of it. Really, it's my entire method for learning guitar and getting on top of your rhythm, your switching, your lead guitar playing, finger style, you know, everything that you want to do on guitar, it's all covered there. I'll put more info down below. There's a 10-day free trial, so you can just see if it's good for you and, you know, continue on if it is, and if not, just cancel anytime. You can even email me and I can help you cancel it if you're worried about that. Otherwise, that's it for today's lesson. Have a fun time practicing, and I'll see you soon.